to you by our stable of sponsors. Distinct flavour to Golden Slipper Day in Sydney, and it was Kiwi flavour. There was some fantastic wins by the Kiwis on the programme out of Golden Slipper Day. 5 Group 1s that we're going to get to analyse a little bit later on. Plenty happening on our home shores as well, Michael, as I welcome you in. So much to get through. We say it every week, but very true.
Yeah, hi, and big hi to everybody on a Monday night. Thanks for joining us. Some great news, the rain appears to have stopped in Sydney because we have a whole bunch of New Zealanders heading there. We'll talk to some of the trainers about that tonight. Talk to James McDonald tonight, the man who rode Very Elegant and Polly Gray. But we're starting the show tonight with some breaking news, which is not an expression we use often on weigh-in. We just confirmed with trainer Clayton Chipperfield he is stepping away from training effective immediately. Wednesday is Clayton's last day, Emily. That means there's going to need to be a new trainer for one of the best horses in the country in Catalyst. So Clayton has confirmed that to us tonight, that he is stepping away from training as of Wednesday. So Catalyst, last season's 2000 Guineas winner, will need a new trainer, as will a bunch of other horses. Haven't got too much detail on that. Clayton said, I don't want to make a big deal of this. So we're going to respect his privacy at that level. But yes, Catalyst to be finding a new home. So that's come to our attention in just the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, great information. Let's get you into some of our race reviews, and we kick things off here in New Zealand, and it is the Ultimate Mazda Japan Trophy where Packing Rockstar was dominant.
Well, just in front of those, Imelda Mary, and 2 lengths away, Yearn. The field for the Ultimate Mazda Japan Trophy head towards a home turn, 450 to go, and the pacemaker is Packing Rockstar from Travelling Light. 2 lengths away, and behind them next is Germanic, followed out wide. Predefers getting out into the clear. Syracuse is further back, and then Hypnos down to the 200. Packing Rockstar, Travelling Light. Predefer starting to be called upon. And look at Gino Severini starts to charge. It's Packing Rockstar, Travelling Light. Gino Severini, Packing Rockstar, Travelling Light. Syracuse is poking through. Packing Rockstar. Packing Rockstar won the Ultimate Mazda Trophy, Japan Trophy. Then it's photos all over.
A Group 2 win for Packing Rockstar, and he was in his favourite position, wasn't he, Michael? Out in front and rolling along nicely, and they just couldn't get to him. He's bounced out of that Auckland Carnival to Tauranga and has managed to secure Lauren Brennan a nice group victory.
Yeah, that's the biggest win of Lauren's training career for her and Mickey, and it gives him options, Emily, because we think about him being a genuine sprinter. Obviously, he was in the railway. But if he can get to a mile, then he could potentially get to Ellerslie April 24th for the Easter, because under the right circumstances, he's got the speed to win a mile. I think Leith rode him beautifully because Billy Pinn, of course, was suspended, so he couldn't be on him. So Lauren said, look, we don't think he's going to be a Group 1 mile. We're not kidding ourselves, that's going to be his cup of tea. But we have options. Ellerslie is one of those options. The other option is Gary Carville, who owns the horse, who's a very smart guy, is keen to go to Brisbane, potentially, if that all shakes down. And that would include restrictions on COVID. They've actually gone back into a lockdown at this stage, but that may not be the case in a month. So I think getting between 1,200 and up to 1,600 now, he's got some options of places they can place him. Just on Lauren's team, Vega Winner is looking to go to Awapuni this week, but Vadavar, who a lot of people forget, ran third in the Livermore to Melody
Flying third,
and he was fantastic. The former French horse, he's heading to China. So his knees didn't hold up to a racing campaign here. He actually had a knee op way back in France, way back before he got, a long time before he got here. And he's going to go to China to work as a stallion. So a bit of a change there for Lauren and Mickey, but their biggest New Zealand success with Packing Rockstar. Interesting finish. Thought Syracuse was good. Thought Gino Severini was good. What did Opie have to say about Prix de Feu?
Yeah, just missing away from the barriers. It just really cost him the race. Just ended up too far back. But I know the horse is in really good form, and I thought it was a really creditable run. You know, based on the fact that he did get too far back. So yeah, I think onwards and upwards for Prix de Feu.
I think it played the majority of the day up in India. Like, it was really hard to make ground, and that partially because Leith rode the winner so well, and he's a hard horse to get around, Packing Rockstar. We mentioned on the show a couple of weeks ago the incredible run of Fastnet Rock, who's only had like 15 individual starters in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And he's had
Avantage,
exactly, Avantage, Gino Severini, who finished in that race, and obviously the horse we're about to see in Rocket Spade, who was very much in a different type of race. It was hard not to be impressed by him on Saturday.
Yeah, beautiful performance by Rocket Spade. We can cast the mind back and have a little look at that victory from Saturday at Tauranga.
Moku Falls, then Rocket Spade alongside of St Elizabeth. Up to the corner they come. Just under 500 metres to go. Tina again, the pacemaker from Marchioness, who made the bend a bit awkwardly. That pushed out Moku Falls, and Rocket Spade to the outside. He's looking to lengthen now, the Derby winner. Down to the 250. He's canted up to the Rocket Spade from Marchioness. Behind them, Spirit of Baz. Tina again looking to rally again, and then Waimoku Falls at the 150. Rocket Spade. It's time to get on his bike, says Craig Grills, and away he goes. The Derby winner continues on his winning way. Rocket Spade, a touch of class about him. Second over was Marchioness, and then followed in photos we had.
It was a perfect conservative Derby trial for Rocket Spade. Really did a lovely job cruising home to an easy victory, and must have been a good boost of confidence for the connections. Speaking of those connections, Andrew Scott joins us on the phone. And Andrew, probably just what you wanted to see, a lovely easy victory, perfect stepping stone towards that Australian Derby.
Good evening, Emily. Yeah, no, we took good confidence with his performance, and most pleasing thing that he's pulled up well from it, and he's that was our main concern, that we just wanted to get him around safely, have a nice hit out, keep him honest, and a good blowout, and for him to pull up safe and sound and work on. So that's been the most pleasing thing. Like, he ate all of his food on Saturday night and again on Sunday, and worked out nice and sound and strided free today. So, no, it worked well.
Were you able to give him a little bit of a freshen up post that New Zealand Derby?
No, Emily, we kept him in work, kept him ticking over. We obviously gave him 1 or 2 quiet days after the Derby, but no, we've kept he's been in work the whole time. We really didn't bring his workload back a lot for this race. It was due to the reason we're focusing on the Derby in 2 weeks' time. So it was and being a colt and a stallion, you've got to keep the work up to him a fair bit, because he gets a little colty from time to time, and he does so well. So we've been mindful of that as well. So no, he hasn't had an easy time.
He showed a good turn of foot for a horse who's dropping back from the 2-4. Often they can be pretty dour, can't they? But it was impressive to see that he still had that dash.
Yeah, Emily, we're really pleased the turn of foot that he showed, and we're sort of pleased that they ran 137. So it was a bit of a gallop, and there was our concern that they might creep round and sprint away from the 600 and leave him a bit flat-footed. But they'd gone enough of a gallop to sort of say he got his chance to work home. But sort of the main thing to us, that his stride was there, he is stretching out. And he's nice and sound, for the reason he's had a long season, and you just wonder at some stage does he ever start feeling the ground. But the thing with the Derby, he sort of raced on nice yielding ground, and it didn't hurt him. And again on Saturday at Tauranga, they were getting their toe in there, and he's pulled up well from that. So the main thing is we want to just keep him ticking over and keeping him sound, so he's striding on.
Tell me the logistics from here, Andrew. How do you get him across the Tasman? When does he go, and who's able to travel with him?
Well, Ellen went, our stable foreman. She went over 10 days ago, and in preparation for Force of Will, and unfortunately the race has got put back, as we all know. And then she's had the luxury of a week off over in Sydney, which was great. So, but she's back in action tonight, about 10 o'clock Sydney time, the horses arrive, Force of Will and Charles Road. So she's in action this week with those two horses working towards the weekend, and then Rocket Spade will go a week today, and we'll do a wee bit of work with him this week and over the weekend to keep him up to the mark, and he'll look to fly over Monday night, and we'll look to crack on when he gets to Sydney.
Scotty, congratulations to you and Lance and the connections on Saturday. Did you get a chance to look at the Rosehill Guineas, because the news is coming out that the Moanga who won there isn't going to the Derby? How did you rate those 3-year-olds for, say, compared to the Derby here, or in fact up against your horse?
Yeah, we certainly had a good look at it, and they're really good horses. Moanga. Yeah, I didn't know that Moanga wasn't going for the Derby, which was terrific news. But he's not the only one, and obviously there's the Tulloch this weekend, and there'll be strong form that'll come out of that. Looking at the noms, so look at obviously with Milford, not being really competitive. He may have had his excuses, this and that. It's sort of, you just wonder where you line up against them. So that does put a few question marks in our mind. But look, we know that our horses certainly had a good couple of weeks since the Derby, and he's had a nice hit out on the weekend. We still think we're. Being a colt that he's got plenty of condition on, he's still on the upward spiral. Like, he hasn't plateaued out yet in his condition, in his mind, or his soundness. So, he still should be some petrol in the tank. So, look, the Guineas on Saturday, it looks, there's some strong chances there for sure.
Scotty, Force of Will is heading across for the Vinery this weekend. I know she needed the run last time at Ellerslie. How much has that brought her on, and is she a horse, as we're watching that win here in the yellow and white colours, who you and Lance think can win a Vinery?
Well, it's a very good question, Mick. Look, she runs a strong mile, and she showed this day here. She's quick and well on a day that was hard to make ground against the older horses with a decent old gap between runs. She certainly needed that run, and certainly has improved with it, and it hasn't jaded her. If anything, it certainly brought her on and has improved her fitness levels and her sharpness, because she obviously had a fair while between runs. But we obviously took her over to Tauranga on Saturday, and she had a gallop between races, and she galloped really well. She put in a really great piece of work, and on Saturday and that race that we just saw, the one thing about it was only over a mile. She really galloped round strongly right round to the mile down the back straight at Ellerslie. That sort of indicates that she might get 2,000 metres. She's not just collapsing at the line and pulling up before they get up the hill. She actually runs through the line strong, and even Craig said on Saturday, she took a bit of pulling up. So, and going back to Horlicks's family, and she's stoutly bred on the dam side, we're probably biggest concern to does she run 2,000 metres. And look, the weather's gone our way a wee bit. We're hoping that, it looks pretty dry, because she's probably a little bit of a question mark if the ground was too damp, but that helps her as well. But this is quite a quantum leap to what she's been running against. She certainly needs to improve, but we're ever hopeful.
Scotty, two things for the futures punters. Is she any chance of turning up in the Oaks, or do you not know that till after the Vinery? And secondly, Charles Road, is he rejuvenated? He was good in the Auckland Cup. Is he bouncing back to the sort of form that gives him a chance in Sydney Cups or those type of races?
To answer the first question, yes, if Force of Will races well this weekend, for sure she'll run into the Oaks, and we're going to get a good line off, probably hold all bets to after the weekend and see how she runs out the 2,000 metres and if she can handle the step up in class. And then Charles Road, he's flying. His run in the Auckland Cup was very good, and he had sat 3 deep, no cover, around 3 corners around Ellerslie. It's hard to do to sit wide round 1 corner at Ellerslie, let alone 3. And he's kept coming hard, and he's raced well all season under the radar. His sectionals have been good, and just all but one race all season, he was screaming out for the 2 miles. He put in a great piece of work there. Lance was really pleased with his work on Saturday, and putting him on the float this afternoon. His coat looks as good as it's been all season. Yeah, look, he's another one. He's going to step right up into company this week, and he may run in the Tancred or the Selwood, just whichever way David wants to go in the morning. But he's certainly, and he may need this weekend's run, but he's not out of the Sydney Cup. Like he's a proven 2-miler. He can handle a bit of give, and he'll be at the peak of his fitness when that comes around. So, yep. Whilst this weekend we're a little unsure, but when the 2 miles come, he'll stay on well. Look, he's run 3rd in the Sydney Cup, 7th in the Melbourne Cup, so he's up to them at least. So, no, we're confident he's gonna perform well over there.
Andrew, looks like it's going to be a very exciting couple of weeks for you. Best of luck with all of the horses, and fingers crossed we can take some of those wins back to New Zealand.
Thank you very much. See you, Mick. See you.
Just on that, Emily, Kieran McAvoy is going to ride Rocket Spade in the Derby over there. The front man as we know him here, we saw in that market, he races this week as a lead, and Hugh Bowman confirmed to ride him this week.
Okay.
And he'll also ride the Chosen One in the Tancred. We'll talk about the Tancred a bit later on. So Milford, not sure the plans for the Derby there, but front man definitely heading to Sydney, and Hugh confirmed to ride this week, which would suggest he's in play. Now, obviously, Mo'unga won the Rosehill Guineas, and Mo'unga, Annabelle Neesham announcing today, is not going to the Derby because he's a colt, and they think the value in him is going to the Doncaster, which could bring him head-to-head with Aegon, or the Queen Elizabeth. So a lot of moving parts to this, including the Sydney weather, which seems to be getting better. But Rocket Spade right in this Derby up to his ears, because he looked incredibly fit and well and mentally dialed in for a horse, as you said, went from 24 to a mile. He could have run 4th and people would have gone, oh, well, we sort of half
He's
expected
just consistent too, isn't he? He's just a winner. He just seems to just love his racing. It looks like a trip away would be no issue to him. He just seems to be a real racehorse.
Well, in the parade, he didn't look tucked up at all, considering he ran 2,400 on a wet track to start before. So I wouldn't have thought he was going to win an ATC Derby 8 weeks ago. I would have thought he was too brilliant for that, but he's now the second favourite, and once he lands with Kieran McAvoy on, there's a very good chance he'll start favourite in the race.
Gosh, we've got some firepower over the ditch, haven't we? Looking forward to these coming weeks, spectating from New Zealand. We're going to leave Tauranga and get you along to the South Island now, where we take in some stakes racing action. This is the South Island Thoroughbred Breeders' Stakes at Riccarton, where Belfashino was successful.
Belfashino getting well inside the 600 metres, drifting off the inside to lead. Severine on the rail, then came Tradition. Just Fabulous, Bronte Beach looking to run on. Wider out is All About Magic in the straight. Belfashino 2 lengths, Tradition. Then Just Fabulous, Bronte Beach looking to get through. Wider out All About Magic. Bronte Beach 250 to go, 2 clear. Belfashino clear of Bronte Beach, I should say. It's Belfashino, Bronte Beach, All About Magic, wider out. Belfashino just in front. All About Magic with a late dab the outside. Belfashino on the Breeders. Second to go by All About Magic. Third, Bronte Beach.
That's sort of heart in your mouth stuff that last 50 metres, but Sam was obviously pretty confident with her and just let it roll. She wasn't pulling hard. Sort of she done the same 3 back when Krishna Madhu rode her, but she was in control the whole way, I think, yeah.
Blinkers on. Gee, hasn't that made a difference? And I think you were quoted somewhere saying when mares are in this sort of form, they're unstoppable, and she is.
Yeah, she certainly is. You know, we actually tried the blinkers on in the spring, but just nothing was going right in the spring. She wasn't quite like she is now, and come the autumn time, she's just switched on and everything's just 110%, can't stop her.
Reese, her record now, 10 wins, 50 starts, is a heck of a good strike rate, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, she just got better with age, and we're scared to retire her, to be fair.
Ownership change, a couple of starts back after the white robe, so that's been a pretty significant investment for those people, and they know a thing or two about the racing game.
Yeah, definitely. It's great to have them on board. You know, they've been big industry supporters for most of their lives, and it's good to see those colours going around again. They've won many a big race.
Yeah, it's the Buckinghams, of course, we're talking about there. And what have we got left for her now? Because there's a couple of decent races still to come at this carnival.
Yeah, for sure. You know, and she's flying on these hard tracks. Getting into autumn gets a bit touchy, but she does have a good record on the wetter tracks. So we'll give the Canterbury Gold Cup, the Easter Cup. We'll give a go at that, and we may stretch out of the Canterbury Gold Cup if we're 110% happy.
I know she means a lot to you, and this will be a big win on your resume once again. So to you and Stephen, congratulations.
Yeah, cheers. Thank you very much, Greg.
Well, it had been a good day, and now it's even better.
Yeah, look, I'm delighted with how today went. Really proud of Belle. She really showed guts today, and I did send her on a mission, and she responded very well. Delighted with her.
Yeah, look, at the top of the straight, she had them pretty well covered, but things got a little bit anxious 100 out.
Yeah, definitely. She was wandering a little bit out there on her own, and I was always confident that if one came up to her, she'd go again because she's very tough and very competitive. So, but she'd done it. She's a terrific racehorse. She'll go home and eat her dinner now tonight, and she won't miss a feed like myself.
Really special win for the Connections there, and a big well done to Stephen Marsh, the team, of course, and great to see that she can continue on her winning ways. She's such a wonderful mare, so consistent, and she's just racking up those victories.
I was talking to Mark Chittick, who is one of the obviously leading breeders in the country, about sending mares to the South Island and getting big chunks of black type down there, because she's got a whole bunch of it now, Belfashina. And he said, absolute masterstroke. He said, once they're in the catalogue and people come across from Australia to buy these horses, you know, they're going, oh, okay, this is by such and such, you know, El Manzour out of a mare who's won 3 Group 3s or whatever. They said that they literally don't care whether that forms at Ellerslie, if they're Australian buyers or Hong Kong buyers, or Hastings or Riccarton. So in our minds, often, if you live in the North Island in particular, you can discount Australia, South Island form, and they go, oh, it's not quite as tough as it up here. And that's probably true. But as he said, once that black type's in the book, it's in there forever. So for a mare like her, what she's done in the last 3 months, or even 6 months, has set her up for life and exponentially increased her value. So smart training, and Stephen's doing a good job down there. I love Sam Wynne as a rider. 2 reasons: I love her accent, but she rides so well.
Yeah.
You were telling me that she worked at the same stable as you.
In Ireland,
Ireland.
just before I was there, I never met her there, but she came through the same stable. Yeah, so I feel like we have a bit of a connection, but she's a lovely girl.
Was it a big stable?
No, it was a guy called Ado McGuinness. He trained jumpers and flat horses on the beach in a place called Rush in Ireland, and yeah, so there you go. Small
what a bizarre
world.
story.
Here you go.
Imagine if you told Ado that
he knows.
In 10 years' time, I'm going to be on television talking about Sam Wynne winning a Group 3 race in New Zealand.
All come from the same apprentice school.
In Rush.
in Rush Island, on the beach. Yeah, it was a great place. Speaking of other tough, consistent horses, Camino Rocoso was back in the winner's enclosure at Riccarton as well, after an unusual tactic saw him going back in the run.
And Camino Rocoso now 6 lengths off the leader as Pounce joins in and heads off Oceans Away. Tracking into the race behind those over the river. Whale Song now peels for his run wider out from Siderist. Beneficial looking for a run from Camino Rocoso. Wide out Whale Song moved up. Pounce still there. Beneficial getting through. In between them over the river. She goes for Whale Song and there's a bit there as well. Pounce Beneficial. Camino Rocoso running on. Whale Song. Camino Rocoso a half length away. Whale Song, Camino Rocoso from the back today, and he got clear. Camino Rocoso beats Whale Song. Beneficial 3rd, 4th in over the river. Then Pounce and Zentang.
Well, Gosen Jagu elected to go back on Camino Rocoso, and it proved to be some pretty good tactics because he was able to come right down the outside and get up to the win. But just when you think of tough, consistent horses, he was coming back from a really good grade and really found his spot there at Riccarton.
I think he's got a few wheels in his head, Camino Rocoso, and I think they don't always spin at the same speed as what his trainers would like them to. And I think Karen and John have just said, okay, we need to try something different. Sometimes you put them over the sticks, sometimes you take them to the beach. As you know far more than I do, sometimes you just got to kid to those older horses and say, let's try something different. And it worked. It might give him another string to his bow.
I think that's the 12th win for him.
I reckon he's one of the hardest horses in New Zealand to work out for a good horse. I mean, he won the Trentham Stakes, and he could just as easily in any race from Wakawaiti to Ellerslie win or run last.
I know.
It's just a remarkable. He was a one-time favourite for the New Zealand Derby.
I remember Karaka Million Night. Hugh Bowman won on
Won
him.
the 74 exactly,
Yeah,
or 65 it might have been. But look, he's obviously a wonderful horse for the Connections, and look, if they can keep changing things around, who knows? He might end up over the sticks.
Yeah.
He's just that sort of horse. He's just such an unusual animal, but a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, certainly was. Let's see what those stakes wins have done to the trainers and jockeys' premierships. Stephen Marsh obviously secured another stakes victory with Belfacino. He's had 642 starters for 60 wins, and you can see the Pitmans in there. They had a great weekend as well.
Well, they were the massive movers. They've moved up to 3rd on the premiership. They won Not 1, 2, but 3, 4. The first 4 on the card at Riccarton. In fact, only 3 trainers won at Riccarton. The Parsons won, I think, 3, and Marshy won 2. So the card was totally dominated. So they are miles clear on the South Island Premiership now. There's a lot of pride in that as well.
Yeah.
We'll hear from them very shortly. Obviously, the girls totally dominant on the Jockeys Premiership.
Good to see.
At the moment. After that, look, it's you get down below the females, and there's a couple of guys like Craig Grills and Opie and Gozzy who don't go too bad. So it just goes to show you what an incredible situation we have in New Zealand racing, that it seems perfectly normal to everybody that 3 females would head the premiership above 3 jockeys that good.
Yeah, no, it's really is awesome. Speaking of the Pitmans and their 4-timer on Saturday at Riccarton, Greg O'Connor caught up with them.
4 on the bounce. I'm pretty sure as a partnership you haven't done that, and I don't know if you've done it as an individual either.
No, I probably did it at Wackawhite one year, because I think we won 7 races one day there. But yeah, I mean, it's a special thrill. Despite what I say about this track at times, it's still my favourite track, and to come out and 4 wins and a couple of Quinellas, it's yeah, it was very special.
Okay, pal, kick things off, and you've got some pretty lofty goals for this horse.
Yeah, look, he's been in work all the way through. He hasn't had a break. Fortunately, my partner's a good bloke and he understands that. But one thing I learnt when I went to England is that those good horses, you just look after them and you just race them at the right races. And he's had nothing go wrong with him this preparation, but he's raced at the New Zealand Cup Carnival, the Wellington Cup Carnival, and today was a nice race for him, and in 2 weeks' time was a nice race again.
You are thinking Telegraph long term?
Oh yeah, I've been thinking Telegraph since I put a bridle on him. He's always shown stacks of ability, and he's actually improving, because he relaxed out the back today, went forward when Sam asked him, and in a Telegraph you've got to be a little bit better than one-dimensional.
You got some idea on how to win one of those?
Yeah, no, he's a very special galloper, he is. He's a super galloper, yeah.
All right, so of those 4 that have won today, he's clearly the one to follow going forward. Our Rosette, Mackenzie Ladd and Rock Sensation, the other winners. Michael, you're honing in on 2,000 wins. Just how far off it are you?
Look, I'm not 100% sure, but it's. I reckon I'm this season and maybe 2 more seasons, but I made a promise to Matthew that when I train 2,000 winners, I'll probably finish the season off, I guess. Yeah, 2,000 winners sees me. Yeah.
Well, I'm pleased to hear that, because and the owners that have purchased some of those 8 yearlings you got at the recent New Zealand Bloodstock sales will be happy to hear that as well.
Yeah, look. When I retire from training, I mean, obviously Diane and I will still be there, but it might actually help the business, because I'll be able to sit back and be more of an advisory capacity rather than driving the trucks. By the way, Matthew, you're going to have to get your HT, by the way, anyway, but instead of me driving the trucks, I'll probably be able to be a bit of a more liaison type based. Yeah.
Today's weigh-in is brought to you by our stable of sponsors.
Welcome back with us on Weigh-In, and we get into our Australian action now. And as we spoke of at the start of the show, there was a certain Kiwi flavour to racing coming in from Golden Slipper Day at Rose Hill. Of course, we speak of Very Elegant, who secured her 8th Group 1 win. Let's have a little look at that victory in the Ramvet Stakes.
Very Elegant, they're getting serious. Very Elegant, a Dave in their own race, laying it down to Angel of Truth, but Very Elegant, she put the head in front. What's a Dave got? He's coming back, the gloves are off, they go toe to toe, blow for blow. Very Elegant, ahead on to Dave, he's trying, but she's going to beat him. Very Elegant wins the Ramvet. She reversed the result of last year, beat a Dave. Angel of Truth third.
It was the race that everybody hoped they would see, where the 2 favourites went head-to-head down the straight, and Very Elegant turned the tables on the European a day. James McDonald joins us on the phone to have a little chat about his big weekend. And James, boy, she's tough, isn't she? Very Elegant. She just gets down to business and she doesn't like losing.
Yeah, she is amazing, Emily. She tries her guts out every time she turns up. You know what you're going to get with her, and it always takes a pretty good horse to beat her. So she's a pleasure to ride. She's amazing here, and she just seems to be getting better and better as she gets older. So we've got plenty to look forward to, hopefully.
Yeah, when you say she gets better and better, it's been a real process, hasn't it? Because when you cast your mind back to you know, her 3-year-old career, she was pretty wayward. But what's it been like to follow her through that? How has she changed and transformed?
Oh, she's taken her time, to be fair. Like I think she's 6 now, but she's still only doing things a little bit better. But yeah, she was very wayward when we first got our hands on her, and she won the binary really well and the Oaks when she was doing things so wrong. So we always had a bit to look forward to if she started to do things right, and she's slowly doing that. She's pretty temperamental in terms of getting out of the stalls, and she began the best she's ever began on Saturday. So that was brilliant, and then it was just a matter of getting her out at the right time. But yeah, obviously she's been a work in progress, and she's been a pleasure to work with. Obviously we've had our days where I could have killed her or whatever, but apart from that, she's been a pleasure.
That's was it 8th Group 1 on Saturday, and you've ridden some pretty special horses during your career, but how does she stack up? Because I know when you see interviews with you post-race, you can see the affection when you talk about her. She must rate pretty highly for you.
Yeah, for sure. To win 8 Group 1s, it's hard enough winning one on one particular horse. So to win, well, I've won 6 on her and she's won 8, so she's been a fantastic mare. Just so hard to do, especially obviously with the colour of a horse here in Australia. Like we're tackling overseas runners all the time in spring and autumn, and she's running to her best, and obviously if she's getting beat, she's not getting beat far. So she's an amazing animal, and yeah, like I said, I hope we've got her for a bit longer yet, because hopefully we've got a bit to look forward to.
Mate, thanks for joining us tonight, James. There's a lot of talk about her potentially going to the Prix d'Arc de Triomphe. You've spent time at Ascot. After beating a Dave the other day, do you think she deserves to go to an Arc? And in fact, have you spoken to Chris about it and suggested that would you go for something like that? Or is it too tricky a time of year to potentially be heading overseas with everything going on in the world?
Yeah, I actually haven't spoken to Chris about it, but both owners and trainer are very ambitious, and I'm sure they'll give her every opportunity to get there if she can. I'm sure if she runs very well in the Queen Elizabeth, they'll definitely have a think about it. It's generally run on wet ground, which suits her. 1.5 miles suits her, so there's no reason why she can't, and she's tackling probably arguably the Europe's best 2,000 metre horse there at the moment, and she's beaten it so far. So look, I'm not too sure what the scenario is, but I'm sure if Chris decides to take her there, she'll run well.
Mate, this week you get to jump on Melody Bell. You'll be the 12th rider to ever ride Melody Bell at the races or the trials. It must be good, mate, to get a spin on one of the heroines of New Zealand racing.
Yeah, for sure. It's a real honour, obviously, with the Open staying in New Zealand. It opens that opportunity, and she's obviously in her twilight years now, and it will be a real honour. She's obviously one of the most Group 1s of any horse in New Zealand, overlapping Sunline. So she's a fantastic mare, and hopefully we can do her justice.
What chance do you give her in a Tancred? Because none of us know how she's going to cop 2,400 metres. You know this form well, and obviously the big 2 from last Saturday, James, aren't going to be there. So is she a horse who can win a Tancred on Saturday?
Oh, there's no reason not. She's got a great will to win, and the Tancred is a great opportunity to tackle the 2,400 or 1.5 miles now, because it's shaping up as a bit of a handicap in this sort of race. Handicap sort of horses in it, and she's a genuine wait for race star. So she's definitely going to be in it right up to her ears. And if she runs the 1.5 miles out reasonably okay, she'll be definitely fighting out the finish, because she's probably got a class edge on most of them.
James, not every horse is Very Elegant or Melody Bell with their 22 Group 1s between them. You rode another New Zealand-owned mare in Polly Gray on Saturday, and you must get a thrill when you know people and you've known them since you were riding in New Zealand, and you're able to give them this success on the big stage at Rosehill at Group 3 level.
Yeah, for sure, and it's actually a funny story, because the Thompsons have been great supporters when I was back in New Zealand when I was apprentice. They gave me a great opportunity to ride a fantastic grey horse that I had a good association with in New Zealand, trained by the Ottos, and I think it was about 12 years or 13 years ago they gave me the opportunity to ride in Flemington. So been in those colours a long time and had a quality grade. Was great to get a result.
James, away from racing, you're going to be voted into the New Zealand Racing Hall of Fame on May the 3rd. It's a massive honour, particularly for someone your age. If we get a Trans-Tasman bubble up and running, are you keen to come home and be part of that magnificent dinner alongside people who mean so much to you? Yeah, for sure. It's obviously it come as a great surprise and a huge honour. So, yeah, I'll be definitely coming through as many hoops to get there as possible. But if we can get there, I'll be there. And there's no doubt it's looking like that at the moment. If we can get that Trans-Tasman bubble going, so yeah, no, looking forward to that, and hopefully I can be there.
James, just one more question before we let you go. Mwanga's race, the Rosehall Guineas, you had a really good second in that on Skylab. What do you make of this horse from a Derby perspective?
Yeah, no, it looks a beautiful race from that Derby. He'll run out the 2400 out strongly. He's a break all day, and he's got a demeanour and an action like it to really fulfil that. So looking forward to him tackling the Derby. He's had a beautiful preparation for it, and hopefully it's time to perfection. But obviously we've got a few unknowns with Rocket Spade coming over, and the frontman or coming over as well, and so we'll get a good line on him this weekend. Looking forward to that.
James, thank you so much for your time, and well done on the weekend with that Group 1 winner board. Very elegant, and hopefully we can see you and Caitlin back here for the Hall of Fame dinner in May.
Awesome. Thanks, Emily. Cheers, mate.
It's remarkable, the numbers behind James McDonald. Ray Thomas, who's a very good journalist in Sydney, did a story about where James sits, because James is only just turning 30, I think, with about 40 Group 1 wins in Australia. And he was
49 on Saturday, wasn't it?
Whatever the numbers were, it was basically if he keeps riding at this level and if he keeps going anywhere near the numbers he is now, he could eventually end up past Damien Oliver and past Willow and those sort of guys. So that's ridiculously large numbers, but it's just normal. We saw James win a Group 3 and a Group 1, and we all sort of went, oh, that's he's so good now that if you went to the Arc, you'd want to take him, which is probably pretty rarefied here for an Australasian rider at the moment. I know Brent Thompson and those people have been in the past, I understand that, but not many riders you would say, look, you probably wouldn't take Ollie to an Arc, or you probably wouldn't take Willow, because they haven't had James's experience at Ascot consistently and in Europe. So he's pretty rarefied here, and he's still very humble about it. It's incredibly young to be getting into the Hall of Fame, but if he never rode another horse, he would deserve to be there, so there's no argument with him getting in. I think Sir Peter Valla, who's been a very important mentor to James, is also getting into the Hall of Fame this year.
He is,
And I think that's one of the reasons he wants to get there. So you can find the information about the Hall of Fame online. I don't usually go to those sort of things because I go to enough awards dinners. But I would love to go to one, because there's a lot of people this year who I think really belong there. And I think it's going to be a magnificent dinner for all involved, and we'll try and get you more information before our season of weighing in.
Yeah, you can actually, anybody can go to the Hall of Fame dinner, so you can just buy tickets online. So if you want to get involved, you might not have any connection to the inductees, but you'd just like to go and enjoy the night, then that is available. Just Google Hall of Fame Racing. They've got a really good website with all of the information on there. And as Michael said, we'll bring you more information as we get closer to that dinner. Let's get you along to a little look at a replay of the Golden Slipper. It was the feature race on Saturday, and Stay Inside really scooted away to a very impressive win.
Is starting to cut him down, and Stay Inside moved up to Profiteer. They beat off Home Affairs and then came 4 moves ahead, but Stay Inside is shot clear inside the 100 metres, and he's going to win it in a romp. Stay Inside 4 lengths clear from the fast finishing Animo, and Stay Inside, Tommy Berry wins his 3rd Golden Slipper. Animo 2nd, Photo 3rd.
Michael, is he just the complete 2-year-old?
Yeah, he's just such a professional. I mean, Tommy, you can make all the plans in the world from barriers and all that, but he rode him to absolute perfection and got him into the perfect spot. He was able to sort of find the right spot, conserve his energy, and we could turn a foot. You know, like he's the real deal.
How much have you felt the build up to this?
I think, you know, I don't know, coming back from Hong Kong, which was a complete disaster, you know, to sort of set up with Richard again, and, you know, I think last year we sat at home, we didn't have a runner anywhere. To have two in the race today, to come away with the winner is, you know, I mean, I don't know, I'm a bit speechless.
It's a special moment to share it with Tommy as well. You and Tommy are very close.
Very close. You know, it goes back to the Singapore days when Nathan was stable rider for me up there and tragically passed away, and Tommy and I have had a pretty special bond since then, so I guess there's a touch of irony that he ended up on that horse today.
What's it like to have the Freedman name back up in lights with the slipper?
Amazing feeling. I mean, you know, my brother Lee, who I think's on course today, who, you know, I was there with for all our 4 wins prior, and Anthony, who's I know back in Melbourne at the moment, who trained Bint Masquet to win our first slipper. It's an amazing feeling.
You deserve it. Congratulations.
Thanks very much.
Well done.
Thank you.
Really good win by Stay Inside. And you see some fantastic celebrations over the line there from Tommy Berry. Really interesting point around Stay Inside's sire, Extreme Choice. Only 48 live foals, I think, and Stay Inside is one of those. And obviously we had Palamos here in New Zealand, who's also by Extreme Choice. And I read a thing Bruce Slade put on Twitter before the Golden Slipper that on average 1.8 first season sires, or as such, you know, 2-year-olds, oldest horses as 2-year-olds, are represented in the Golden Slipper. But this year, 44% of the field was made up by first season sires. So it just shows the depth and the quality, obviously, Extreme Choice being one of those. So fantastic depth in those stallion ranks.
And Mick Price is so good at bringing those colts through and turning them into stallions. He had him and Flying Artie at the same time.
Yeah.
And they've now won the Blue Diamond and they've won the Golden Slipper. He actually has a few fertility problems, but he's let down into a really big, deep-girthed horse, Extreme Choice. If you want to look at him online, he's magnificent looking now. Yeah. Taken him a while to get there. I hope he stays, obviously, fertile for them, because he's going to get a lot better mares now than he probably got then. Great story how the dam of this horse was purchased for $1,000, and then she bounced from one place to another, and everybody's had a finger in the pie. Emotional story, clearly. The Freedman brothers probably don't get the credit they deserve. Like, they're such a big machine, but because Richard's so slick and Lee's so flippant in the way he talks, it's easy to sort of think they're always joking and they're not that serious, but their body of work is just staggering. And Michael Freedman's a really lovely, gentle sort of guy, and things didn't go well in Hong Kong, and he's happy to admit that. But what they've done as a unit is nothing short of remarkable. And again, it's because they are gruff and funny and all those type of things, it's really easy to not have them with the esteem of some of the more serious John Gosden type horseman people. But they have been massive for Australian racing at a whole bunch of levels. And I think this is going to kickstart the Michael and Richard team into getting more money to play with at the sales, which is in Sydney starting next week.
And they look like they've got a pretty handy colt to keep their name up in lights. Stay Inside, of course, taking out the Golden Slipper. We're going to get you to a break, and on the back of that, into some more New Zealand news here on Weigh In.
Today's Weigh-In is brought to you by our stable of sponsors.
Well, Tim, since last time we had a chat, gee, there's been some progress here.
Well, it's sort of almost frightening, Greg, when you see these massive scrapers and graders and the amount of soil they move, and once they've gone 50 metres, you know there's no going back.
Tell us about progress, and in terms of, is it on target and where you expect it to be at this stage?
All the works very much on target. We've had a great run with the weather that's made preparing racing surfaces so challenging has been perfect for construction. The works are right on time, almost to the minute. We have weekly site meetings where everything's reported on, and then the next fortnight's planned out, and everything's going very much to where it's supposed to be.
Given the Cambridge Training Centre had the advantage of going first, I suppose it's an advantage for you to be able to tap into some of their knowledge. How much have you done in that, and what are some of the learnings?
Well, in the construction aspect, very much with Renee Nielsen from Cogswell Surveys. He's been the engineer on both projects, so we were so fortunate to have such a top bloke running the project, but he'd broken his back, he'd broken himself in, if you like, was the terminology, on the Cambridge project, and we've been able to run off that. So that's the key aspect of it. And the other thing, of course, we're sitting here, we're just picking up and learning on what Cambridge is doing now, and Mark Fraser-Campen and some of the trainers and that at Cambridge have been brilliant sounding boards. The riders, I've spoken to a number of riders that have ridden at Cambridge, as have other members of our staff, and we're just putting everything together, the grooming practices, what they're learning. They've had a whole summer of working with the synthetic track. We're probably going to come online in the spring, similar to them, so we'll be running, ideally you'd come in and online with it, say, at the beginning of the autumn or the winter. So we've got the head start of being able to talk to them and find out what they had to do over the summer to get the track operating as it should.
Okay, so when would we expect A, a horse to be galloping on here, and B, I guess, trial dates, race dates, are they starting to be cemented?
Yeah, well, very much. The goal is to have it available for track work in July. Now, I would just put a note of warning there, getting the Australian people in to do the work. They're facing the challenges that everyone else is in New Zealand with the COVID situation and the MIQ, so we're just working on that. The plan is that it would be July, and then obviously trialling would be a couple of months or so after that, and racing in the winter of 2022.
Exciting times it is. You've also got the advantage, you've got such a wonderful layout here over the 2,400 metres, so that has allowed you to go with some of the traditional distances, which was imperative in your mind.
Yeah, I like that. The fact that we were 2,400 metres round, and I go back to when we visited Pakenham, and as I understood it, they built the synthetic track first, got that right. They then built their grass track. Their grass track came out at 2,400 metres or thereabouts. Our turf course prop is already 2,400 metres. That means we weren't constrained by shape or ground. So we were able to build our synthetic track at 1,900 metres in circumference, and that gives us the 1,200, 1,400, 1,600, 2,100, 2,200. Those key sort of generic starting points, which I think is quite good to have that.
And the long Riccarton straight, although not as long as your natural track, 350 metres will give every horse its chance.
That's right, Greg. I think it should be a really, really good synthetic track. And of course, inside the synthetic track, we're developing a new grass training track as well, because part of the construction process has allowed us to pick up the soil, and sort of almost bizarrely, it's cheaper to put the soil and spread it out at a new grass track than it is to take it off site. So we've been able to build a lovely new grass training track as well, which will be a real advantage, and I think we'll have a really, really good facility for the trainers, who I might add I'm extremely thankful have worked in so well with us, getting their horses and training their horses whilst this work goes on. And most of them are looking at it with the view we're going to have some pretty good facilities at the end of it.
Tim, once construction's completed, we know the upkeep of these types of track is not a cheap operation. Are you confident that the way the racing industry is structured now, that you're going to be pretty comfortable with budgeting for that type of thing?
Yeah, well, we've done all those budgets. I mean, there's a cost to running all the other tracks as well, top dressing sands and ploughs and cinders tracks, healing back grass training tracks. There's a lot of costs, and so there is a bit of a transfer of costs. So there are aspects, but when you've got extra trial meetings, extra race meetings, all of that comes into play on the yearly budget, so we're pretty confident there. But I also think our club took the view that it's one of the 17 planks of the Massara report, and if everyone started pulling bits together, the whole thing falls to pieces. So lots of people have suffered some pain in trying to come to grips with the Massara report, some more than others. Our contribution is we've had to put a financial cost into building the synthetic track and being one of the three of those that are in New Zealand. And the other point I'd make is, the synthetic track's not something for the next 3, 4 or 5 years, it's 40, 50 years out from now. So, when you and I are on a Zimmer frame leaning over the rail here, hopefully there's young people training and riding here at Riccarton Park, because this was one small plank in the revitalisation of the sport.
Massive progress being made there at Riccarton. I haven't had the opportunity to see that progress, so wonderful shots coming in through the drone there of the progress being made at Riccarton. A couple of admin bits to tidy up, Michael, before we say goodbye.
Yeah, just on that track, they do have the benefit of talking to the Cambridge people, and I've spoken to a lot of the Cambridge trainers about the synthetic track, Emily, and the attitude was, you know, we have to learn as we go. And initially, some people thought it was too hard. And now most of the trainers I've spoken to this week said, no, it's perfect now. So the difference is whether you have not enough top on it or too much top, which can be too hard on the horses and can obviously sometimes cause issues with the tendons coming out of that deep sand all the time. The trainers are saying now we've done it and we're happy with it, which is a really big bonus for Riccarton because they can say, okay, we've had a blueprint. That's really, really cool for that. Just talking about good horses and tracks, just after 12 o'clock on Wednesday, really interesting trial coming out of Matamata. So race day there, they're trialling beforehand. Avantage, Levante, Entre Via.
Oh my goodness.
And importantly, Sort of State. Now, there's no confirmation Sort of State's going to start on this trial. Why am I telling you about it? Well, first of all, the trial will be shown on trackside. There's a greyhound race at 12:05, so the trial will be shown on trackside not long afterwards. It's at 12:06. But Sort of State's in a trial, and he's also red-hot favourite for the size produce at Awapuni on Saturday. Now, I texted Jamie Richards today, and he said we're intending to go to both, but that would suggest to me, with the improving weather in Sydney, Emily, and I'm not putting words in anybody's mouth, that maybe Sydney's back in play.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yep.
And if that's the case, I just want to warn punters, don't be backing into the size produce market because that could affect a whole lot of things, whether on the bubbles goes. It's an unusual situation. And I think that you should just be careful with that market if you want to have a bet. That race or that trial will be that really important trial on trackside not long after 12 o'clock on Wednesday.
Also, no doubt, be on loveracing.co.nz as well. Mouth-watering trial, hearing all those good horses stepping out on Wednesday. That's it from us here on Weigh In. It's been wonderful to have your company throughout the show. We're going to leave you with some international racing before we go in the form of the Dubai World Cup.
The challenge hypothetical, then Sleepy Eyes Todd Chua Wizard continues to come on, then Magnicor, Jesus' team are down the outside, but Mystic Guide races away in the cup, inside the 200 metres mark, gets away by 3, Chua Wizard, hypothetical, Salute the Soldier, Magnicor, but it's going to be a Godolphin win, a Godolphin USA win, Mystic Guide charges away and takes the Dubai World Cup, Mystic Guide wins easily, second Chua Wizard, third in Magnicor, then hypothetical.